Good morning, boys and girls. So it is time for Chapter 3 of the Lemonade Wars. Our vocabulary words for this week, we have had slump, we've had breakup, and now we have joint venture. A joint venture is when two or more people joining forces to sell a certain amount of goods or to work on a single project. When the goods are sold and the project is finished, the joint venture ends. Now, this is Scott talking to Evan, and they were doing something yesterday afternoon. They were going to set up a lemonade stand. And who really liked setting up a lemonade stand? It was her favorite thing to do. Jessie. All right, and Mom is upstairs, and she's working. So Jessie is confused as why Evan is upset about a letter they got that said that Jessie was going to get to skip a grade. Woo, the sun's coming out, starting to burn my back. So here we go. Scott's talking. Your sister is really... Hush, said Evan. Hush. Huh? Just hush. She's okay. She doesn't... Look, she's okay, so just hush. Okay. Wow. So Scott's holding up his free hand and showing that he didn't mean anything by it. Evan was getting abused on the other side. The heavy cooler was banging against the inside leg with every step, and the plastic chair was scraping against the outside leg, bruised and battered. And he thought to himself, all for the fun of hanging out with Scott Spencer. Why wouldn't Jack have been home? Or Ryan? And why did Adam have to go to the Cape this week? This stunk. How far are we walking? Grunted Scott. Just to the corner. Evan watched as drops of sweat fell from his face and landed on the hot sidewalk. We should have stayed in the driveway, said Scott. It was shady. The corner is better, trust me, said Evan. He remembered when Jessie had the same words to him last summer. They were setting up a lemonade stand together, and Evan had been grumbling about dragging the cooler across the street and down two houses, just like Scott was now. But Jessie had insisted. There's a sidewalk on the side, she said. So we'll get all the foot traffic in both directions, and people and cars coming around the curve will have time to slow down. Besides, there's a lot of kids on that side of the street, and their moms won't let them cross the road. The corner's better, trust me. And she was right. They made a ton of money that afternoon. It took 10 seconds to set up the lemonade stand. Evan unfolded the chairs and set one on each side of the cooler. Scott tilted the sign towards the street for maximum effect. And then they both sat down. Man, it's hot, said Evan. He took off his baseball cap and wiped the sweat from his face with his shirt. Then he grabbed an ice cube from the cooler and balanced it on his head and stuck his cap back on top. Yeah, said Scott, I'm thirsty. He reached into the paper bag, pulled out a cup. It was one of those large red plastic cups that the vendors used at professional baseball games. Then Scott took one of the pitchers from the cooler, and he filled it up to the brim with lemonade. Hey, not so much, said Evan, pouring himself a cup too, but only part way. He gulped down half. Half of his drink. Not bad, he thought, though he noticed a dead fruit fly floating on the top. Do you know what a fruit fly is? Yeah, they're little tiny bugs, and they kind of fly around things. Nasty. His mom had been battling a mad fruit fly infection ever since the weather had turned really warm. The kitchen sink area where they kept their fruit bowl was dotted with tiny, feathery fruit fly corpses. A corpse? A corpse is a dead thing. So imagine a little nasty fruit fly dead on your counter. Clean it up, people. Clean it up. Ugh. Scott drained his cup and tossed it on the ground. That was satisfying. That was so good. I'm going to have another. Evan reached for the trash for the trashed cup and stowed it under his seat. Nah, come on, Scott. You're going to drink all the profits if you do that. He stretched his legs out and by putting his feet up on the cooler. Just chill. I'm going to chill by having another cup, said Scott. There it was, that mean bit in Scott's voice. Evan's shoulders tensed up. Move your feet, said Scott. It's hot out here. Dude, you're... Evan sat up, expecting and looking down the street. Hey, here comes our first customer. A mom pushing a double stroller came into view. At that same time, one of the kindergartners from down the street rode her bike up, noticed the sign, and quickly pedaled back to her house. Within 5 minutes, there was a small little crowd of neighborhood kids and pedestrians buying lemonade from the stand. Evan let Scott handle all the money while he was taking care of pouring and the sweet talk. That's what his mother calls it when a salesperson chats her up. Trust me, she had once told Evan and Jesse, buying something is only half about getting something. The other half is all about the human interaction. Mrs. Ch3 knew all about these because she was a public relations consultant. She'd even written a book called 10 Bright Ideas to Light Up Your Sales.